In episode 1, Moorview Meadow opened its gates for the first time, and since then the park has only grown in popularity, and that means we need more attractions. Just quickly before we begin, thank you so much for the support on episode 1, it's been amazing to see. If you're continuing to enjoy what you see, please let me know by subscribing. I'm trying to reach 25k by the end of the year, and if you could help me get there, that would be amazing. Now let's get on with episode 2. Welcome back to the second episode of my brand new park series, Moorview Meadow. In the first episode of this series, I left you in 1970. The park had just opened, and hopefully it was going to go well, is what we thought back then. Now, nearly 4 years later, the park is quite busy and in urgent need of new attractions. So, over the past few years, the park has been constructing new additions for this year, and it's so close to opening now. I just need to finish it. So, as you can see, the first thing you'll probably notice when we come in the park is the Ferris wheel has gone. That ride attendant is now very bored and doesn't have a job, but hopefully by the end of this episode, he'll have the choice of quite a few jobs with new attractions over there, but we'll get to that soon. The Ferris wheel has moved. I mentioned this in the previous episode that the height of the Ferris wheel might be an issue for the surrounding area, and the local council of Moorview have decided, I think probably seeing in foresight what the park could potentially become in the future, and as councils like to do, have deemed it damaging to the appearance of the area and the skyline, I guess, of the countryside. So yes, the wheel has been forced to relocate. Obviously the park wouldn't get rid of this ride, they probably spent a lot of money on it, putting it in the first year of the park. So it has been dismantled, removed from this location and then moved to the other, like sort of the back of the park, which I'll show you later on, which does leave us with this awkward little like concrete pad, well it's not really little, big concrete pad at the front of the park that is going to have something done to it. Obviously the queue line and the entrance stuff is still in place, and that will get sorted at some point in the future, but the park's primary focus for sort of the lead up to 1974, I guess, is the first expansion of the park. They have probably had quite a lot of guests in at this point. The demand for rides has increased, or just the demand for general capacity, so we need some more attractions in this park. So if I come now into an aerial view, we can sort of see what the new additions are, but first what the problem was originally. This skyline, or I suppose landscaping line, countryside line, I don't know what it's called, was impeded on by this Ferris wheel, so it has now been moved. So basically the rule going forward is that any of the attractions inside the park cannot be seen from outside the park, which is going to cause some problems later down the line, but we'll deal with those when we come to it, and it should make some really interesting design decisions. But as you can see here, the park may brand this as like 3 rides, but it's just 2, one's been relocated. We have the chair, is it called the chair-a-plane in the game? Like the wave swinger ride, whatever those are called, I can't exactly remember the name. And of course the Ferris wheel, which has relocated from up here. You can see an overhead view. Something will be happening to that plot of land in the future, as the park doesn't know at this stage what to do with that area, and it's going to sort of wait until it needs to expand as well, when they can start considering other plots for development. I put in this sort of raised area in the last episode with that little retaining wall at the bottom. This was so that this area could be put in. Like I mentioned, the park is sort of growing out from that existing area that we made in the first episode, and that includes this new coaster, which I'll put an image on now from where I got this on the workshop. I was planning on doing this Schwartzkopf Wildcat 45 meter layout, I think is his exact name. I was planning on just making this myself, but when I went on the workshop and found this one, I thought this is literally perfect. I may as well not waste time building one when one this good already exists. I have swapped out the trains for whichever trains this one originally had. I think it had the E&F Miler style ones. We now have the Schwartzkopf ones, but as you can see, the park is sort of naturally expanding forwards into the countryside. I don't know whether we own all of this land at this stage, but we certainly own most of it, and obviously there's the rail yard land as well. This area used to be the farm, if you remember back from the how to make a realistic template park episode. But yeah, it's sort of expanding out this way. Lots of cool opportunities for interaction with the landscaping further down the line, and a few more rides still to come in this episode, so I will catch you in the next update to show you what I've been doing. I thought I'd do an update here because it felt like a good time, because I've got a little bit carried away, but if you think about it, all of these attractions, it may seem like quite a big addition, but this is taking place over a 4-year period. There's a 4-year gap in between the previous episode and this one, so these rides would have been installed over time, not all at once. As you can see here, I've added a little bit of a crossing for the railway. Thought to make this a little bit safer, other than just having like just the railway on its own. I know some parks typically I think in America would probably put a barrier across there, but here in Europe we don't normally do that. You'll just have a bell sort of sounding when the train goes past, which I might actually trigger up. That could be something nice to do. But the coaster is called Racer. I thought just a nice simple name for this. I've added in a bit of a cover over the station area, bit of a ramp and stair up to the actual ride platform. Like I mentioned, I think, when was it, earlier in the series, that some of these rides aren't currently wheelchair accessible because they wouldn't have been when they were designed like this. But as the park goes on into the future, rides will be made wheelchair accessible, as they all definitely should be. And it'll be an interesting process for me to show you how to do that as well and make all of your rides wheelchair accessible in the future. You can see I've added the Racer name on there as well. That looks really cool. And then obviously you've got the backdrop of the other two rides in this area as well, which I think look really nice together. These three rides look quite good. And then obviously they are joined by this one. If you're wondering what this huge patch is at the bottom of the screen, I'm going to be turning that into a lake. But this ride here will go over the lake a little bit, and there's a plot of land on the left there which I'll talk about later. As you can see, I've added a little bit of customization to these cars, Moorview Meadow 1 on all the license plates, which I thought was quite cool. And then I've also added this bridge over here as well, because I thought I needed some sort of connection between the two sides of this area that this car ride is splitting up. So there's this little bridge that goes over. It's going to be sort of a little bit American styled, I guess. Obviously you would assume that bridge would be made out of metal, but the park wouldn't have the budget for that. So I'm still trying to keep the budget fairly restrictive for these additions. Like I said here, that goes over this lake that we're adding in, this human-made lake. Obviously this isn't a naturally occurring one, wasn't in the starter template map, but I thought a lake could be a nice feature. And then there is something else being constructed here, which I'll come on to at some point later in the series, as you will see. That will be the next episode, I believe. But yeah, really happy with where the park is at this point. Felt like quite a good point to do an update before I started to add too many details into this area. And as you can see, episode 2, sorry, is going to be fairly big for this park, and it's going to only get even bigger additions as time goes on and the park gets more popular and we've got some more money to spend. But I will see you in update number 3. This isn't update 3, but I did want to show you sort of the standard of detail that I'm going to be putting into all of the buildings in Moorview Meadow. I've designed the full timber framework of this one, just very nerded out, just getting all the columns and beams and structural bracing in everywhere. And then I've got the wood that goes around the side, which I'm attaching the red plank cladding on. This building doesn't have to be completely airtight, at least for the facade. I wanted to get a feel for it. It will be quite open. Since the ride is outside, it doesn't really matter what sort of wall build-up this has, given that it has 2 huge openings at the front and the back of the building. But yeah, I just wanted to sort of detail this nicely so it looks really good. Obviously it's not going to be that warm inside here during the winter, but you've got that sort of concrete pad around there as well that rises up against the walls to sort of help with flooding. But yeah, I thought I'll just insert this little clip to show you a bit more detail on this building before I fully cover it in cladding. And yeah, I will see you in update number 3. This also isn't update 3. I just got completely carried away and finished it. So this is episode 2 completed already. Yeah, I think it sort of got to a point at the end of the last update where I'd done enough for me to know what to do, but then I hadn't done enough that all the detailing wasn't in. But then by the time I'd added most of the detail, it was sort of pointless in doing another update. So here we are, the end of episode 2 basically, but there is a lot to show you, so this hopefully won't be too short of an episode. But yeah, that looks a lot better now, doesn't it? A lot more amusement parky. There's a lot more, that's definitely a word. There's a lot more movement on the skyline. You can see the coaster going around there. I've added a lot more guests into the park as well, just to sort of fill out the area a little bit. We'll have a look up here at the coaster actually, just to see it looking a bit more lively, and it definitely is. When I mentioned earlier about the park being sort of busy and at capacity and needing more capacity, this is the sort of crowds I would be expecting on a day-to-day basis, at least during like school holiday time and weekends. Fairly decent queues for all the attractions, nothing too insane, but it is nice to see the park a little bit busier, although it does look really weird with the Ferris wheel being completely gone. But like I said, there will be an attraction there soon. The park is sort of at a stage where they're working out what to do with that space. I love this little train crossing as well, and if you can see, those guests are trying to actively avoid the train while it's crossing. I think they've introduced that mechanic because of the parades coming in the next DLC. Well, by the looks of it from the teaser. So yeah, it's really cool to see that happening. And then obviously there's this pathway down here which takes you to kind of the American styled farm ride, which we'll get to later on. Because if you remember, this area used to be part of the farm, so I thought that would be a nice little callback. We have two flat rides here, the relocated wheel, which has had a new paint job. I thought it probably would after being in the park for 4 years, and obviously being relocated, it sort of had a little bit of a refurbishment. And then we have Sky Dancer, which is the chair-a-plane, chair swing, wave swinger, I don't know what it's called, one of those. And then you work your way down here to the main event of this episode, for me anyway, Racer, the park's first ever coaster, a Schwartzkopf Wildcat 45 meter model. Wow, words are really difficult for me today. This is what happens when you do so many voiceovers in a day. I've been recording a few other things today as well, but yeah. This coaster looks really good. I'm really happy how it sort of sits on the skyline as well. When you stand a little bit further back, or like down towards the car ride area, it is quite elevated because of the terrain, so it does make it look a lot more imposing than it actually is. And it's just really satisfying seeing it go around, because this is the closest we can get to the Schwartzkopf Wildcat in-game, so I'm pretty happy with how it looks. And the creator who made this coaster, which I mentioned earlier in the video, where you can find it on the workshop, did an awesome job. I did just remove one of the cars here from the car park, paint it blue. I thought the park could have maybe somehow acquired a like a beat up racing car that they could put in the queue line for a bit of scenery additions. But yeah, let's go for a ride on Moorview Meadow's first coaster, Racer. I have had to come down into track view for this POV because the park is open and very busy. You do get the guests flailing their arms in the air really stupidly right in front of the camera. I love how that's still a feature in this game. But yeah, turning the corner there, going up the lift hill, and then just as you turn around you get such a cool panoramic view across the entire park. And like I said with some of the earlier attractions, these views are only going to change and get better as the park continues to develop into a fully fledged amusement park, and then eventually in a lot of episodes time a full theme park. So yeah, it's going to be really cool seeing the process of me going around theming up all those areas as well that we'll be adding, seeing which rides come and go, seeing which ones stay, if any of them get relocated as well. I'm really looking forward to the future of this series. It's going to be really fascinating, and nothing like everything I've done before as well. Definitely that historical storytelling element is something I'd like to do a lot more in the future too. And there we go, back into the station. Are we going to crash into that train? Ah! And there we go, well, that was Racer. And I did want to mention, although this is a very nice view, there are certain parts of this which you might notice that have been purposefully poorly designed. Like, obviously this station barely even has a roof, so it's not going to serve much shelter for people in the sun and in the rain. Believe it or not, we do get sun sometimes in the UK. And even all the trees as well, like quite a few of the new trees I've added, obviously, of course, the new trees, they're absolutely tiny. So they are providing very little shading coverage, but this is something that the park will learn from as it develops. These trees will get larger, but then also certain things will have to be changed, like shading and queue lines and more nature as well. As you can see, quite a lot of the shrubbery around this park is very tiny at the moment because it's obviously going to be put in quite small and grow up, and then these things will be changed over time. Like I mentioned last time about how making the park wheelchair accessible, these will be things that will come over time as more modern practices come into the park. But this is the farm sort of car ride. I would have ideally liked this to be a tractor ride, but I just didn't have the time to make these cars to look into tractors, and I don't think I would have been able to do an amazing job at it either, to be fair. And I just think the vintage car thing still works. The park would have probably bought this ride model just sort of off the shelf, maybe even the layout as well. The layout was sort of inspired by the car ride at Paulton's Park, just from doing a bit of research on like overhead views on Google Earth. And yeah, these cars would have probably been very typical of what would have come with the model when they bought it from whatever manufacturer this is. It's just the park have added a few little details, like maybe they've painted the cars or like added the custom license plates like I have there. And then you get this really nice bridge which is sort of a little bit Western America style, going over the centre of the ride here, which just provides some really nice elevated views across not only this ride but the other rides around the park as well, which I do really like. As you can see, all the wood is like very bright new wood. All the landscaping, like I mentioned, is quite small and well kept. These things will change over time. The landscaping will get bigger. The ride area might get a little bit more unkept in the future. This bridge, the wood will obviously age and darken and maybe even be in need of repair, so the bridge might get replaced or something. This is what I really like about the storytelling sort of time aspect of this style of series. There's so much that can change over time and I love that. I did add another toilet block down here because I have noticed that in most of my other park series there's never been enough buildings in the parks, so that's something I definitely want to work on a lot more in this series, is that making the park much more realistic by adding so many different facilities, not only for the guests but for staff as well. The pathway that we're on at the moment, you can get some nice views there across to the site for next episode. The pathway that we're on now does sort of end. This is an element of where the park is showing that they are planning for the future by adding all these different pathways to different places that don't even exist yet. And then we can come through this very long queue line, like I mentioned, about planning for the future. It's much longer than it is currently required now. And then we can get onto the car ride, which I'm very excited to have a ride on. Here we go on the classic car ride. I'm not going to put the entire POV in for this because it is quite long, but you can really see how the park is planning here for future stuff going on. You can see this sort of anticipation turn, as Intimidated probably call it on one of their Blitz coasters, gives you a nice panoramic view across the park and will be littered with attractions in the coming years, so it'll be really fun to see how that develops. You get a nice view of that station building there as well, like very classic Western Americana style of farm, and then all the little landscaping going around as well. And I've really liked the interaction with the pathways on this one as well, especially with the bridge. That really makes it for this type of ride. It's just as much fun when you're on the ride as when you're off it, and you can watch everyone going around, and it really just gives a park so much movement, seeing everything going on around you. And obviously you get great views across the rest of the other attractions as well. The coaster over there, the Ferris wheel, some of the landscaping. Oh, jump scare. And then this is the maintenance area as well, which I've added this canopy, which is sort of the length of the cars that don't fit into the station building, so that when the ride closes on a night, none of the cars are sat outside. So that fits, I think the station fits 4 cars in it, and that fits another 4 for the 8 that are on the circuit. So yeah, oh, you can see people's feet clipping through the bridge, that's weird. So yeah, none of the cars will be left outside overnight, which is good. It got some nice little canopies and stuff as well, random hay bales around, and farming, planting stuff. It's just lots of visual interest, and especially when you've got like a ride that repeats itself, sort of like this, it is quite difficult to add bits of scenery that feel varying. Like that tractor there is one of the tractors from the original Moorview farm template map that I just brought over. But you go past it like 2 or 3 times, so you really get the use out of the different scenery elements. Then you come along the exit path here and then back into the station. And I guess that was the full POV anyway. And there we have it, Moorview Meadow episode 2 is now finished, and I'm so happy with the way this all looks. The park really feels alive now, it's growing and it's really exciting to see, and it's only going to get more exciting with more additions that we add. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this feels. There's a lot going on, and then there's still the potential for a lot more to be added, and this is sort of the in-between stage for this first part of the park, like this area being completed. And I know I mentioned at the start, but it does feel like a lot has been added in this episode. But you have to think, the last episode was 1970, this is 1974, so this is 4 years worth of development added into this park, and you can really tell because there's a lot more going on. We have the park's first coaster racer, this Schwartzkopf Wildcat 45 meter model. Really happy with how this looks, and this is a coaster that will probably be one of the first major additions that will have to have work done to it, be relocated, removed or whatever as the park develops, requires more space for different things in the future, or the ride gets too old. So it's really interesting to see. Why are you just stood here? It's really interesting to see how different bits of the park can already be developing even in these first few years of this park being open. But even the car ride as well, it might seem like such a simple addition, but it's really important for a park probably at any stage of its existence, but especially in such an early on stage, of appealing to as many different people as possible, families, even thrill seekers when I've added the new coaster, and like little kids as well. You want attractions for everyone so that the whole family can come, and then it makes the park that much more appealing for everyone, and the park does better over time, gets more money, gets more attractions in and everything, and then it can just continue to develop and grow, which is exactly what it's going to do. The next episode is this plot, sort of what's on your screen now, not just the ride that will be coming to the right, which is a coaster, and then just interaction with the lake as well, and I might flesh out a bit more of the area to just bring it all together, because that, I think, will be either a 2 or a 3 year time jump from now until the next episode. So not as big of a like area is going to be affected, but the addition will be much bigger because the park will have even more money now after opening this huge plot of land here and adding all these new attractions. But yeah, there we go. That is it for Moorview Meadow episode 2. Thank you so much for the support on episode 1. It has done very well. It's been lovely to see all the kind comments as well, talking about the park and how much you're all enjoying it, and that it's helping for your parks as well. I'm really glad you're all enjoying this more unique style of series for me. It's not really something I've done before, like a park through time, so it's pretty cool to see that you're all enjoying it. Yeah, thank you very much. I will see you in episode 3. And yeah, it's gonna get really exciting. Can't wait. See you then. This coaster's proven to be really popular. I think we should build another one.